Hey, how's it going? I was just finishing up making our lunch. It's just about ready. Why don't you come on in? Let's go. Hey, it's a little dark in here. Would you mind grabbing the light? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So, I don't know, I figured today we could have a little lunch. You know, nothing too big. I just got some. I know you like Hot Pockets as much as I do. The Philly cheesesteak flavor. Well, we all know it's the best one. So I figure go and get these cooked up, have some chips or something, you know. Probably got some chocolate or something laying around for dessert. So something simple, something good. Got some root beer in the fridge. So yeah, I figured we could just have a nice meal and just talk about what's been going on, future plans, etc. So maybe talk about some music, maybe movies, Halloween, stuff like that. All right. So I'm gonna go and get these ready. And oh, you can have a seat right there. I'm sorry. So yeah, it'll just be a minute. Yeah, I was just grabbing the placemats, you know. You know how these things can be, you know, you take one bite into them and shit goes everywhere, right? There's mine, and I'll just set one right here for you. Alright, so let's go make these bad boys up, shall we? A lot of people, they really don't like the lean pockets. You know, that's what these are. I mean, they're effectively the same thing, you know, right? But, you know, just a little healthier, less fat, I don't know, less calories or something. I personally, I don't notice much of a difference. I didn't even need this knife. I personally don't notice much of a difference. To me, the flavor is all really good regardless. Oh, and this one I'm just making up for you. I already made myself up one, you know, while we were while I was waiting for you to come over. That's why I said I was right in the middle of making lunch. But I mean, I'm not sure about the nutritional info and stuff on them, but I don't know. It's healthier, and I've never noticed a difference in taste. So, I mean, and I've had real Hot Pockets in the past. You know, I mean, these are just slimmed down versions of them, I guess you could say. I really don't know what their modus operandi in this case is. But, hey, if it keeps me from looking tubby-wubby and I can still enjoy the delicious flavor of it, then, well, I'm not gonna complain, you know? So now, this is actually a really powerful microwave I've got here. So I know it says to put the thing in for like 1:45. But I tend to put it in for about 1:05. You know, that's one time I put it in for 1:45, and the Hot Pocket, the thing blew out the side, and there was shit all over the plate. I had to like eat it up with a fork. That was no fun. But so yeah. Oh, by the way, what did you want to drink? Oh, root beer? Cool. Yeah, I got some of that. That's what I was planning on anyways, but I wanted to ask you just to make sure. Cool. And I got some, I found that these, what I got over here, Sun Chips, they make a really good pairing with the, with Hot Pockets, you know? They, the salty flavor just, it goes well with, well, salt and salt, you know. So this is just the original classic flavor. You know, I mean, you like Sun Chips, right? No, that's what I thought. Cool. Oh, wow. Master of planning and timing. Let me just get these out. And we're almost there. Looks like the sandwich survived pretty well. There's a little bit of leakage at the edge, but hey, can't always be perfect, right? No one ever said making Hot Pockets was an art form. Well, I just did, but I didn't officially say it. Don't, you know how that works. Alright. Oh, it smells good. It smells really good. I just, we'll share this. I got an extra big bowl just for the two of us, you know. I'll put these right here. And, Hot Pocket. So, here you go. This is for you. I'll just put this down right here. And, you said you want a root beer drink, right? Just gotta remember this. Alrighty. Do you want ice with that? Yeah? Alright, cool. Is this enough? Cool. Yeah, it's, I actually had some laying around because my grandparents, right? They, well, my grandmother actually, to tell you the truth. Well, it's not like I was lying to you, but my grandmother, she had full knee surgery, replacement actually, about a month ago. So she goes to physical therapy twice a week out in Lancaster. And my grandfather, ever the master of, you know, taking things that aren't his, but getting away with it because he's a 70-year-old man, 75-year-old man, he always goes into the employees' lounge and nabs some of the sodas and pops and podas or whatever you call it, you know, I mean, I know people call it a lot of different things where they're from. I do love the suds that happens when you got a nice carbonated beverage like that. Why am I pouring out? I don't know, I feel it's a part of an art form, you know, just to be able to get in there and look and see and hear, you know. So I'll just pour the rest of this out for you. There's a little bit left in here. I'll put that back in the fridge, and you know, when you want some more, just you can go grab it. All right, and then we'll eat, and I'll figure out what we'll have afterwards. All right. Well, let's get down to business then. I only thought your choices were so good because they were the same ones I made. I have that Philly cheesesteak Hot Pocket, the root beer, and the Sun Chips. It's a good compliment, don't you think? So, now we got all the preparation and stuff out of the way. How you been? What's been new? I hope you've been well. Hope that life's been treating you good. I know that we're entering, or sort of are in, the most festive part of the year. You have Halloween at the end of October, which is only a few days away. It's on Friday. It's coming up. And then, not too long after that, November, you have Thanksgiving. And then, not too long after that, next month, you've got Christmas. It's a great time of year. Holidays, holidays, holidays. You get to see all your relatives, all your friends. I enjoy it. But I do know, it can be stressful. I gotta make sure no one eggs your house or something on Halloween. You got candies for the kids, or if your kids are going out trick-or-treating, you gotta make sure they stay safe. But you know, these days it's pretty safe just as long as you come with them, or you know, they're old enough and you can trust them on their own. Of course, you can inspect their candy afterwards. You know, take a little bit for yourself just to make sure. Yeah, you know what I mean. But of course, we all know Thanksgiving is stressful. Primarily just because I'm not sure who does it in your family. But in my family, it's my mom. So we have it here at the house. And, it's a lot of work involved. We toned it down over the years. It used to be, the whole family came over, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever, you name it. The house was full of people. But problem was, a lot of them didn't just bring a dish, to help out. They just sort of showed up for the food. It's not like they helped out with the cooking either. They just expected to be fed. They're great people nonetheless, but, after a while, start to feel kind of thankless, So, my mom just narrowed it down to the immediate family. Myself, her, my grandparents, and my aunt and uncle in from out of town. And sometimes my aunt's mom and sister. Because they're close immediate family. They're appreciative and they bring something to offer, My mom makes just about everything, though, as far as it goes. The core components. She makes one hell of a turkey. She buys a really big bird. Because she knows that even if it's not a massive family Thanksgiving, I'm going to be eating a lot of it. I'm a hardcore meatitarian. So, more often than not, my whole plate Thanksgiving is just turkey. Maybe some mashed potatoes here and some bread. And while there is many other good things on offer, to me turkey is just, that's the main focus, And I know that can be a lot of work. And to compound that, my mom's birthday is like the day before Thanksgiving. And my uncle that I said comes in from out of town, that's her twin brother. So they both have their birthdays then. So it's kind of hard to enjoy the birthday when the next day, or very soon after, you're going to have to get planning to cook for and entertain the whole family and ensure everything goes off without a hitch. But it always does, and it's a wonderful time of the year because who doesn't love food? Now, of course, the day after that we put up the Christmas tree, start decorating the house, but not until after Thanksgiving. A lot of these stores these days, you're not even through the 4th of July, and you're already seeing Halloween decorations. They go like 2 holidays in advance. Take it easy, man. One holiday season at a time. But you decorate the house really nice, and put the tree up, lights inside and out. Christmas is a really fun time in the family. It can be stressful looking for something to buy everyone. I'm sure you've had those experiences, as everyone has, but thankfully my mom is really good at finding stuff that I'll want to get for my family. But I'm good at finding stuff I want to get for her. She likes her jewelry and her bling. I may not agree with it, but it makes it easy to buy for her. I can say that much. And usually when you buy something for someone, you take the price tag off, right? See, my mom is the other way around. I make sure to prominently display the price tag because I want her to know just what a good deal I got because she's like the savings queen. So when I tell her, oh, I got this for this much off at this discount, she's like more proud of me than for how much I got off than for the gift itself. So that's funny. Christmas used to be like my favorite holiday. I think it was everyone's. I do love Halloween and Thanksgiving. 3 in a row, they're just great. But as some of you know, on Christmas, it's coming up to 2 years now. My dad unfortunately passed away. It was almost the 26th. It was 4 minutes from midnight. They tried to insist it was the 26th, but I unfortunately called it. I had my phone and I had to call it. And it's a long story about everything he suffered through. I'm not going to drag the video down by telling you guys all about it. I mean, if you guys want to hear, I guess I could make another video sometime where we could discuss it. But needless to say, it was no fun and no good. And he shouldn't have passed away like he did. But he loved Christmas as well, and so that's why myself and my mom and the rest of my family, we don't let the sad memory of his loss drag everything down, because we know he'd want us to be happy and still enjoy Christmas and still enjoy the festive fun of it all. So that's why we still do the whole thing. We still bake Christmas cookies. We still we have a Christmas movie watching tradition, certain movies that we gotta watch before we get to Christmas time, stuff like Rudolph, like different interpretations of A Christmas Carol. You have the original version with Alistair Sims, the George C. Scott version, the Muppets version, several other Muppet Christmas movies. Charlie Brown. There's just some movies that need to be watched before Christmas. Polar Express, The Grinch. And I used to do this with Mom and Dad. Now me and Mom still do it, and I also do it with my girlfriend. We watch movies online over Skype. And it's a fun tradition. I've grown up with it for as long as I can remember. And it makes Christmas that much more exciting, What about you? Do you guys have any traditions? You guys, I'm only talking to one of you. Any traditions in your family? Because I think they holiday traditions, because those really sort of enhance that warm fuzzy feeling, And then, let's see, not very soon after that, January 3rd is my birthday. I'll be 19 this year. Well, next year technically, because it's, just at the beginning of the year. But I'll be turning 19. And so, get some more presents, within a couple days of each other. It's nice to get it all at once, but then the rest of the year does leave things empty, but that's more of a selfish standpoint. But it's a great time of year. The only thing that sort of takes away my enjoyment from all of it, and Halloween is kind of key in this, is, I'm sure you noticed as you were coming in, that the leaves are all falling off and dying, gray skies, cold rains and wind and just crumminess, Unfortunately, October tends to bring the cold weather in, and November just sort of worsens that until you get to the snow. We typically start to see snow here around November time. Definitely December. Even though December 21st is the official start of winter, we see snow long before that. That's what happens when you live in Buffalo. Now, wherever you may live, conditions may be different. But especially up here in the Northeast, especially Buffalo, because we live right next to the Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and the rest of the Great Lakes system. You know, we don't get that cold during the winter. We don't get that hot during the summer because the lake balances it out. But we do get a lot of snow. And it's different from what you guys would typically get, wherever you may be from. We get what's called lake effect snow. And that tends to be a more, I mean, if you like sledding or skiing or, you know, just to play in the snow, snowball fights, whatever, lake effect snow is totally like what you'd want. But as far as dealing with it, driving in it, you know, getting it out of your driveway and shoveling it, lake effect snow is a real pain. Because what the deal is with lake effect snow is Lake Erie doesn't freeze over completely. I mean, yeah, sure, parts of it do get frozen. And even when it does freeze, it's only the upper layer. But, you know, the entire lake does not freeze over, typically. And either way, still, the Niagara River, which comes off of Lake Erie, you know, that doesn't freeze. Because it has Niagara Falls, and that's just moving too damn fast. It has happened in the past, but more typically it doesn't. And besides, we need several days of a prolonged below freezing cold temperature to freeze the lake over anyways, which typically doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, we do get massive blocks of ice, and they have to set up an ice boom in the Niagara River to keep the ice from flowing downriver over the falls, because that could cause all sorts of shit. But typically, you know, you're not going to see the entire lake freeze over. That just doesn't happen. It's too big. It's in several states, you know, Buffalo, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and so on. It's just too big. There will be a fair amount of ice, but it won't be all the way over. As such, that water still manages to be, you know, a little bit warmer, the parts that haven't frozen. And when the cold front of the snow and the storm front passes over the lake, you know, basic knowledge, you know, the water as it evaporates, as it does anyways, is picked up by the storm front, the cold front, and frozen once it gets up there. And now, because it is from the water that hasn't frozen yet, and it's more dense and more moist, and it's going to drop it right on Buffalo, it doesn't have much time to totally freeze and become, you know, some wispy snow. You know, it just stays as a dense, compact thing. When it falls here, because the lake is right there, it ends up being very dense. When it falls, it's very heavy snow, very moist. You know, you can compact it and stuff, but it's not wispy and stuff you could just blow away. That will typically come at the edge of a lake effect front. You know, you get the lake effect snow come down, it gets compacted and everything, you gotta really work to get that shit out, you know. And then the nice wispy snow, the snow that you see in the movies, fancy, oh, romantic, that's just a dusting at the top of things. So, the problem there is, you know, once you have a couple feet of snow, you've got the powder on top. When the wind comes in, that blows and whips around. And because it's higher up than it already was, that's getting in your face, ripping right through your body. Even if you dress really warm, the wind chill
And the light dusting that whips up is going to get you. When the lake effect snow falls, it almost looks like snow. So if you know what snow falling looks like, that's what it looks like. But they're bigger pieces, and they fall more plentifully. So it almost looks like snow rain because it's large pieces and they just fall a lot. It's still snow, completely snow, but the consistency of it is what separates it from being what you typically think of as being snow. And we gotta deal with that. That's life, It's been reasonably cold the past few days. You chose a good day to come over. Even though it looks pretty crappy out right now, like it's gonna start raining pretty soon. It was in the 70s today. The past few days we've had mornings starting in the 30s and just getting up into the 50s. That's bad. We were having some good temperatures for a while in the summer. It's really warm today, which is nice. I like the warm weather. Like I was saying about the lake effect snow. So we have that to contend with. Like that we have a rather warm summer. So the lake is warmer. So its chances of freezing over completely are small to begin with, and even less because the water's already been warmed up by our warm summer. We're getting the polar vortex coming down from the north again. Massive pile of just some really gnarly cold winds. And massively cold front. That's going to really play in to everything. So, we're going to have a pretty bad winter this year. I'm not sure if it'll ever be as bad as 77. We had a blizzard here, a blizzard of 77. And it was the snow. There wasn't a lot of snow. It was the lake effect, thick snow, and the wind blowing into massive drifts. That was what fucked everything up. Now, I wasn't alive for that, but my father was. When he was driving home from work downtown and had to pull over in West Seneca and Lackawanna to stay with my aunt there because it was just too treacherous to drive on the 90. Now, I was not alive for that. But what I was alive for was the, what was called the October Surprise. Now, if you're from Buffalo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if not, you've probably heard of it. It made national news. The October Surprise was 10 years ago. This year. Wow. Was it really? No. Let me think about that. It wasn't 10 years ago. No. Let me think about that. When I was in 5th grade. Started my first year of college now. So 5 years from 5th grade, that's 10th grade. 2 more, that's 7. Wait. My math sucks. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Wow. Okay, 8 years ago. Because 5 plus 7 is 12. Plus 1. 8 years ago. Wow. I wasn't that badly off. Now you see why I'm a writer and a video producer and not a mathematician. So it was that long ago. And what happened was, in the first or second week of October, a freak cold front blew in. Now, to any other meteorologist, this would just look like just a storm coming in. But it was one of the rare occasions where it was the perfect storm. If the wind had been blowing, just maybe 2 miles an hour faster, 5 miles an hour faster, would have blown over us and never would have touched us. But this was just the perfect conditions. This was a cold front that was out of season. Came over the lake, picked up all the water, froze it into snow, the lake effect snow, the thick, heavy snow. Wasn't supposed to come at this time of the year yet, but it did, and dumped it on us. Now, originally, everyone on the radio, they were just saying, oh, it's going to be just some ground snow, just a little bit of a dusting, it won't stick. You know, haha, snow in October, school day tomorrow, woohoo. I mean, snow day tomorrow, woohoo. You know, everyone was thinking all about, yeah, right, like this is going to happen, snow in October. It was weird, but everyone was saying, yeah, this isn't going to stick, because temperatures were still fairly warm at the time. And I remember we were up at my school for a parent-teacher conference night. My 5th grade teacher was saying, oh, Mike, we'll have a snow day tomorrow. Won't that be great? And even earlier in the day, because the snow did last for several hours. Because my conference, you know, I believe that was around, 4 or 5, 5:30. I can't remember what time my parents had slated and the other parents' times. And in my 8th period class, near the end of the day, that's when the snow started. It was during my art class, and I remember my principal got on the PA to tell everyone, hey, it's snowing outside. Look outside, you'll see snow. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. And, yeah, everyone thought it was the coolest thing. But, no one thought it would keep going. It would taper off, or it would blow away. It wouldn't stick. But it started to stick. We went to Wendy's for dinner just around the corner. And as we were coming home, more and more it started to be like whiteout conditions. Got into the neighborhood. And keep in mind, this was early October. So the leaves on the trees hadn't fallen yet. So we have this massively dense, as far as snow goes, dense lake effect snow falling on trees that still have their leaves on and are still heavy. And the snow is heavy. So next thing we know, we see, branches down blocking entire streets. Even in our street, there was a guy trying to haul a massive limb out of the way. It started to get darker and darker. Next thing we knew, well, we got home. We didn't have power. And what happened that night was, well, the storm. The storm raged on all through the night and got progressively worse because it went from just being a bigger snowfall to a full-on storm. Even worse. To make matters worse, with all the downed tree branches and power lines, then an actual proper storm came in with lightning and thunder. Power generators were exploding all over the city. Transformers, everything. You could go outside and the sky was, constantly flashing green and blue as shit was blowing up all over the city. It was crazy. All through the night you could hear cracking and smashing as branches and limbs were just falling from the trees like nobody's business. And the next morning, it was a very eerie silence. You could still hear the cold wind blowing and some of the tree branches buckling under the weight. But you didn't hear any cars, you didn't hear any people. It was a very scary silence. And, well, it started there when we didn't have power, and the other side of the street did that through that night until the next day when they didn't. And for about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, Buffalo was just completely shut down in a state of rebuilding and recovery. FEMA had to be involved. And that's when everyone started to realize the usefulness and effectiveness of backup generators. Back before that, not a lot of people did. You know, maybe some people remember the blizzard of 77 did, but, you know, a lot of times you didn't really... A generator, what are you going to need that for? You know, when the power goes out, usually it's just a quick thing. Power company fixes it. Okay, here we go. Yay, yay, whooped up. But this was somewhere we experienced it for 2-3 weeks, prolonged. And I'm talking, you know, hot water, keeping food cold. You know, we had to, you know, insulate old trash cans by packing snow into them and putting the food in between layers of snow to keep everything cold. Power was out everywhere. It was, you know, street lights, you know, if you wanted to go to the store to buy something where they had sort of emergency generators, it just relied on people's goodwill to just not steal everything. It was kind of scary. In some of these places, I had to go to Target with my mom and dad to buy some stuff, and, you know, it was mostly dark in there, and it was kind of weird, you know, it felt like the end of the world or something. It was bizarre. About a week into it, my grandparents, who lived in Gettsville, at the time we lived out in Tonawanda, not in Williamsville. My grandparents lived out in Gettsville. They got power back, and well, we had been a day in now where it had been probably 5 days that we didn't have power, and my uncle had bought a backup, well, not a backup generator, but a generator. He lived out in Medina, but he got his power back the day that he bought it, so he made the treacherous journey to our house to get us the generator so that we could use it. Well, the next day, Nana and Papa got their power back. We didn't have it yet. So I kind of went to their place and stayed there for the next 2 weeks because they had power. And, you know, we, out-of-state companies had to be called in to deal with all the branches and everything everywhere that had taken down all the power lines. It doesn't sound like, oh, a tree branch falling, that could be a problem. Entire branches and trees were just crashing down, destroying homes and cars and everything, especially power lines. That shut down the entire city. It was a state of emergency. And I was at Nana and Papa's. Within a few days of being there, you know, all the snow had eventually melted, but they have a very large backyard and have a lot of trees. So it was like, you know, a pit of branches in the backyard, and we had to spend probably 5 days getting all that cleared out. My uncle, once again from Medina, he came in with the whole family. And here it was, just maybe a week and a half after the storm had come with these freezing, blowing conditions, and we were doing all this in shorts and short sleeves. And go figure. It was bizarre, and by the time we finished, there was, you know, out in front of her house where putting branches by the street where eventually the town would take it. The pile of branches was like this high, you know, from the ground up, if not more. It was higher than that, higher than I can show. And I'm talking along the entire front walk, and they have a very large front yard. It was like a barricade. It was crazy. You would think we were in a state of war or something. But, so nothing like that, because most of the leaves have fallen off of the bigger trees, but there's still a lot that have left to go. So, but winter should come on time, or, you know, Buffalo on time in November. But it's just going to be cold and bad, but at least we're going to be prepared for it as far as the rest of the environment goes. But Halloween is Friday, and if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to one up my drink. Yeah, I see you still got plenty there. I just need to get a little more. There's not much left, but I also got one of the little root beers from Papa. Maybe you want some more chips? I'll grab us some. Cool. But yeah, so Halloween's coming up at the end of the week. Friday, right? Yeah, that's the 31st. Halloween's a great holiday. And it's especially great when you're a kid. Nothing can compare to Christmas, but, you know, it's still pretty cool. Getting free candy from everyone, right? That's, you know, that's your expectation. That's what happens. Now, obviously I'm a little bit older and I probably won't go trick-or-treating this year. I may in the future when I'm actually with my girlfriend and we can go trick-or-treating in cosplay from Kingdom Hearts. But what I like Halloween for now, as if you follow me regularly, I love horror. Haunted houses are my jam. You know, they're just so much fun. They don't scare me, but I find them insanely entertaining. Same way with horror movies. You know, me and my girlfriend were watching horror movies in preparation for Halloween, sort of like the Christmas movie watching tradition that I had with my folks and her. We didn't get nearly as far as we liked. We started back in the very end of September. We got through 2 whole series, 14 movies. We got through the Saw series. Now, these movies don't scare me, they don't gross me out. I've seen a lot more gnarly things, like a Serbian film or the August Underground series. But I still find them entertaining. So, we got through this whole Saw series, and she hadn't seen any of these before. So I was really enjoying introducing her to them. And then just last night, we finally finished the whole Nightmare on Elm Street series. Now, I'd seen the first 4 movies in that series. I hadn't seen The Dream Child, Freddy's Dead, or The New Nightmare. We just finished The New Nightmare last night, and I was fucking impressed by it big time. I thought that was, Wes Craven finally at the helm again. What a fucking movie. That was something else. I loved that a lot. Definitely one of the best of the series. She enjoyed Saw a lot. My personal favorite is Saw 3. It has the best plot, best characters, very sadistic, and keeps you isolated. Just like Saw 1 did. I do love Saw 1, but I don't know, I like 3 better. Because you're only in 2 sections for most of the movie, either following Jeff through his test, or with Lynn and Jigsaw and Amanda. You feel very underground and very isolated. It works really well. It's a very private, psychological experience with the other characters. And as for Wes Craven's New Nightmare, it's a meta film, if you haven't seen it. It's not the remake. The New Nightmare is from '94. And it's the idea that Freddy was originally inspired. The idea of Freddy Krueger was inspired from Wes Craven. He had a nightmare one time about Freddy. And so that's why he made Nightmare on Elm Street, because it was a movie about his nightmare. And the concept raised in the New Nightmare, is that Freddy is actually a real being. He is a being of pure evil that has existed for thousands of years. And he can be captured for small amounts of time by storytellers. And that this force of evil was captured by Wes after his dream and put into the movies. Now, of course, in this meta film, you have people as they are. Heather Langenkamp, Wes Craven, Robert Englund. And so Freddy was being portrayed by Robert Englund the whole time, of course. But the idea was the entity that Robert was embodying was a real thing and allowing itself to exist within the movies. Even if it was a human playing it, he was allowing himself to be portrayed as such and be captured there. And now that the series was over, this entity had been released again, but it liked being Freddy because it spent 10 years being Freddy. And so now, it's Wes Craven, Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, the guy who played her dad. It's them, after the series is done, as themselves, now being hunted by the entity the evil entity that is now embodied as Freddy Krueger. It's really imaginative, and it sounds like something that would be really kind of silly, but Wes Craven pulls it off really well, and it ends up being probably one of the darkest and most disturbing of the series. I was really pleased with it. It doesn't pull any punches. It gives it to you straight, which I liked quite a bit. It was returning back to the seriousness of the first and second movie, especially the first one. You know, whereas in the fifth movie, you had lines like, "Bad year, Dan!" When Freddy's got the champagne and he, like, takes control of the guy's car. Or the sixth movie, where he, fucks with the blind kid by turning around and not blind kid, the deaf kid, turns around and shushes the audience, and that's, like, behind the deaf kid. It was silly. It was funny, but Freddy had become more of a wisecracking asshole. Like, feels like Jim Carrey's Grinch. This was going back to being serious, creepy Freddy. Now the idea was, it wasn't... They were acknowledging, they were trying to say, the Freddy that was here, they weren't trying to pass him off. It's hard to explain. The movie was supposed to be real life, not a movie. So it's a meta film. You know what I'm trying to say? It was supposed to be as if what we were watching was real. They weren't trying to have it be a movie. It was supposed to be real. And that Freddy was hunting people like Heather Langenkamp and her son. And that this Freddy was a real form of evil. The person who had played Freddy, Robert Englund, was even in it. Thinking, when Heather Langenkamp told him about it, he's like, what, Freddy, me? Are you seeing me hunting you? She's like, no, it's something real. And as such, Freddy gets a redesign, not like what Robert Englund looked like, but something a little more dark and gruesome. It's interesting, because it's it's the characters of the movie outside of the movie, but yet Freddy has somehow escaped. You know what I'm saying? It's creative. Like, they acknowledge that every other movie, it wasn't really Freddy. Freddy was just a fictitious creation brought to life by Robert Englund. But yet it says what he embodied was this being of evil. And now this being of evil, now that the series is done, has entered the real world because he's not being captured by the storyteller directors of the movies. Great movie. Great ending. Better than the ending of Freddy's Dead, where things are just so ridiculous and gets blown up with dynamite and everything else by his daughter. It was silly, but it was funny, I guess. So if you haven't seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and thinking, it's some sequel way far down the line, check that out. Because it's not related to any of the other movies, per se. It's an original, and it's really good. Directed by Wes Craven. He hasn't touched the series since the first one. So, props to him. Now, that's why I love Halloween. We were going to do, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Hellraiser, Freddy vs. Jason, Hostel, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Evil Dead, 28 Days Later, Cloverfield, stuff like that. I never left the White Room. But we just didn't have time. We're going to see about as much as we can fit in Nightmare Before Christmas. That's a Halloween and a Christmas movie. Counts for double. Gotta watch Charlie Brown, There's a lot we gotta do. We'll probably still watch more after Halloween, because horror movies are always good. And as for Hellraiser, only the first two movies are worth your time. Especially the second one, that's really good. So yeah, I recommend the New Nightmare. It's really good. So Halloween for me is definitely a bittersweet holiday. Because I love the horror, I love the candy, because I still get candy from my folks, but it's when winter starts, and, not winter necessarily, but it's when the cold weather definitely has officially started. If it's not cold by Halloween, something's up. And I don't like the cold, I don't like the winter. It's just cold and windy and gray and sloppy, shitty. It's not fun, So I don't like it as much. But I do love Thanksgiving and Christmas and of course my birthday. So those things do temper it. But I'd just much rather have the summer, you know? But, nah, well, c'est la vie. Hey, you want some dessert? Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything fancy, but I got some chocolates. You know, nothing much, but I got some candies and some chocolates. I could go and take a look and see what we got. Sound good? Cool. I'll just be a second. Yeah, I got some in here. I know this looks really illicit, but I use this to hide my candy from my mom. I hide it under my bed. She claims she eats healthy and all and everything, but she'll sneak any candy she can wherever she can find it, so I don't want her touching it because I know she will. I just got also some other sweets over here I can grab, and we could you can take a look at, see what strikes your fancy, whatever. You know, I mean, just an assorted mix or whatever. We'll look through it, see what's new. What's new, as if. But I think first what you might want to try is you know, we'll start at the top and work our way down. Something a little interesting here for you. I have this. It's Lindt Excellence, 70% cocoa, smooth and dark chocolate with exceptional cocoa flavor. For the ingredients, it's got chocolate, sugar, cocoa butter, soy lecithin for an emulsifier, and bourbon vanilla beans. What more do you need? Yeah, I left you one over there, see? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I know, I just put down a lot of candy there, but that's yours. Now, I'm not really the world's biggest fan of dark chocolate. I do much prefer milk chocolate, just because it's sweeter and more tasty. Dark chocolate tends to be a little bit more bitter, more powdery. You know, sometimes it depends, you know. Milk chocolate gets the creaminess, but I'll still eat dark chocolate. I especially like if it's got like sea salt in it, and it's really good. So that's that's Lindt, and Lindt makes some good chocolates. So let's see how this is. Have to work in, get the flavor first. Now, dark chocolate is bitter, but it still has sweetness going on. But it's not sweetness in the way as we know it as milk chocolate. Now, most of you probably know this already, but worth talking about anyway. Milk chocolate sweetness is a sweetness that's there, we're used to it, it exists, we enjoy it. This is, the sweetness in dark chocolate is kind of you gotta work to get it. And it's like a sharp sweetness that it shows up and it gradually decreases. It's a much sharper sweetness than, say, the sweetness of milk chocolate. And I'm not sure how you like your chocolate, but I think, you know, I mean, I love chocolate, but I think we can all agree that we hate when people have chocolate and, you know, they chew on it. And I can understand once it gets down to a smaller size, want to give it a little nibble when it's in your mouth. But some people I see, they just munch on chocolate. Why? Chocolate's meant to be savored and enjoyed, right? Let it melt in your mouth. Let that nice melted chocolate cream really do its love for you. But yeah, I've seen people just nom 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 nom. What gives? So, not really a fan of dark chocolate, but this isn't bad. I've had some good chocolates before though. My grandparents got me a really nice chocolate-shaped pumpkin. It was just basically a big pumpkin that was made of milk chocolate. That was good quality. Lindt is good, but local as far as Buffalo goes, there's some good ones like Watson's. They make good chocolate. Althea's chocolates, they're very good. Antoinette's, wonderful chocolates. There's many more I couldn't think of off the top of my head. But there's some good chocolate places around Buffalo. If you're from here, you'll know that sponge candy is in season right now. And sponge candy is... I found out last year that the rest of the world doesn't have sponge candy, and that bothered me. Because I've grown up with sponge candy, and to me it's just as common as a clock ringing. For those of you who don't know what sponge candy is, it's basically sugar made into like a crystallized form. It looks like an orange crystallized form. Basically, as is, you instead of getting the sugar just look white, you keep it in its sugar syrup form, let it crystallize, and it almost looks like a spongy kind of thing. It's like a powdery, it maintains a shape, but yeah, when you bite into it, it gets a little powdery sometimes, but it's like a crystallized, spongy looking cube of sugar coated in chocolate. It's absolutely delicious. When I found out that really only in the Northeast, especially Buffalo, only has it, I was shocked, because I love the stuff. It's wonderful. But I was like, wow. And one of the best places, also what we've got in Buffalo, and again the Northeast in general, is custard. Once you have custard, it makes it really hard to just have normal ice cream. Because custard, if you don't know, this isn't like your English custard. I'm talking about custard as an ice cream. It's a lot like ice cream. Tastes like ice cream, but the consistency of it, it's a lot softer, smoother, creamier, and it's to die for. It's incredible. If you're familiar with Anderson's, they do custard as well as Rita's and a couple other locations like Nina's. Lots of these different places here in Buffalo. Custard's amazing. They're probably one of the best ice cream places in Buffalo. Althea's is nice, the chocolate place. Probably one of the best also in Buffalo is Antoinette's. They make all their stuff in-house, just like Althea's does, but Antoinette's does it a little bit better, I think. Antoinette's makes all their ice cream in-house. Their chocolate ice cream is amazing, but especially their whipped cream. The whipped cream that we're used to, we buy from the store, that's a very heavily processed, air-powered, air-filled whipped cream, with added sugar and everything, and I'm sure it's fine, but at Antoinette's, besides getting the real thing and all the ice cream and having it be very creamy, while yet still not having it be custard, the whipped cream is very creamy and very wonderful, but instead of like you would see in in your normal whipped cream, they almost squeeze it out like frosting, and it's a very heavy cream. It's still sweet, but there's not a hell of a lot of added sugar. But it's thick, very creamy, slightly sweet, but just it's wonderful. It's real whipped cream. It's not processed whipped cream. It's a homemade, right there whipped cream, or whipped cream, Cool Whip, if you will. It's definitely not Cool Whip. It's real on whipped cream, and it's really nice. I love going there. You know, I'm trying to go a few times a year. So I'm just gonna. Oh, here you go. Yeah, I figured you want when you saw I was pulling this out. There you go. Now you probably just saw my video the other day where I bitched about these Reese's peanut butter cups. I do hope people don't get the wrong idea and think that I don't like these. I think they're absolutely perfect and wonderful, and they're some of my favorite candies actually. But the peanut butter dust or whatever it is, I mean, that's really inarguable. But this is a Hershey's product, right? Yeah. Now, Hershey makes some very good chocolate. And of course, you can taste it here. When I do talk about places like Althea's, Antoinette's, Watson's, those are a step above Hershey's. Think about it like Olive Garden, alright? Olive Garden, that's still like fast food Italian style, That's not really full on this artisan Italian food that they typically make. It's still good, but it's not the full thing. You want the full thing, you'll find a local Italian restaurant run by Italians. You know when you go there because the food is out of this world. There's some good ones around here, especially because Buffalo's a very cultural location with a lot of different, Thai, Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Italian, Polish, Irish, German. There's a lot of cultures in Buffalo. Probably one of my favorite Italian restaurants is actually down in Maryland, in Laurel. It's a place called Pasta Plus. Out of this fucking world, man. You can taste the homemade love and care put into it. But like Hershey's chocolate is to Italian restaurants what Olive Garden is to Italian cuisine. It's mass produced, but it's still good. But the fine chocolate is really where it's at. If you're looking for something good, the only reason I ever started talking about the chocolate dust in these is because one time I got some peanut butter cups from one of those nicer chocolate places. And besides the chocolate being very delicious, the peanut butter in it was actually creamy and felt like peanut butter. It was sort of almost oozing out a little bit. It was clearly a cream. And so I just thought of that was all yesterday, and I decided to make a video about it, and I guess, well, it took off more than I thought it would. But hey, it was just for fun anyways. I don't normally take this long to eat, but, we're hanging out and talking, I'm gonna go grab water. You want one too? Cool. Yeah, just, we're having different chocolates and stuff, so I wanted to have some to cleanse the palate, as I said yesterday. A little something to take the flavor away of what we just had, even if it was good. You want to be able to experience the new flavors. Sort of like having grilled pineapple with cinnamon and brown sugar after a steak dinner before you get into dessert. Whatever works for you, you know? So, back. Got a little something here. So, that's lots to talk about chocolate and candy there. I figure talk a little bit about music. You know, it's nearing the end of the year, so I've got a few months left. But we've seen a lot of really, really good metal albums come out this year. Now, I'm not sure what you listen to, but if you like metal, well, then you'll really enjoy this discussion. There have been some good ones. Starting at the very beginning, you know, thinking here. One of the first albums of the year to really impress me was Oi Magoy by Hell Spirit Noir. They're from Greece, I believe, this band. And they play metal, obviously, but they play a psychedelic black metal. Sometimes it airs a little bit more folky on some of the songs, but it's really something good. You know, there's more emphasis on the psychedelia in their music than some psychedelic metal bands. But it was definitely black metal delivery as far as the vocals may go, and the lyrics, but you know, you're not going to really experience your typical black metal blast beats, you know, not the you know, it was, you know, different sounds and time signatures and deliveries and styles. And the psychedelic elements work really well, whether it's in the guitar or they use electronics to put it in there. It was a very different kind of album. It was very, very good. So far, one of the tracks that's really impressing me, possibly to get Song of the Year, is the middle track on the album called The Mermaid. It's the longest track there, but in my opinion, it's about 11 minutes long, and it lets the band sort of take their time and expand this song into, you know, what ends up being this sort of crushing duel between the electronic elements of the music, the synthetic synth of it, and the guitar. And it's all about, you know, mermaids and sirens and sailing and stuff like that. It ends up being a really cool musical duel between those two parts and the black metal influence. Because it's a nice long song, it has a chance to breathe, and it's really neat. So great album. Then one that came out not too long after that was the long-awaited. If you're a fan of black metal or blackened death metal, you'll probably know what I'm gonna say. The long-awaited release of the new Behemoth album, and it was called The Satanist. Oh, what am I having here? Oh, this is just caramel creams. I'm sure you're familiar with these. You got the caramel on the outside with the cream filling. It's very delicious. One could easily have a ridiculous amount of these in one sitting. They're very good and addicting. But Nergal, the frontman of Behemoth, was diagnosed with leukemia, and people thought he was done. No more Behemoth. But he got a bone marrow transplant. Made a point to find the fellow that donated to him. and thanked him in person. And then Nergal turned and used that negative emotion and suffering he might have felt during his time with this disease and put it into his music. It's Behemoth's first album since, I think, 2009. 2009, I can't remember what the album was called, but it had a great track on it. I mean, it was one of the last tracks. I think it was called Lucifer. Amazing, one of Behemoth's best. And that sort of, we felt like that was a herald of things to come, and indeed it was, because now Behemoth has, thanks majorly due to Nergal, he took everything there they experienced and put it back into Behemoth. And what it spawned was just something completely heavy and brutal. Something beyond what Behemoth had participated in prior to that. The album was called The Satanist. And whether it was some autobiographical thing that Nergal created or what, he took that fury, that rage, all those feelings inside, and translated it into this powerful, enclosing, chaotic, behemoth of an album. It's something that when you listen to it, takes you into its world and almost crushes you with what it is. It's a hell of an album. It's one of those things that, you have to set aside time to listen to, because it's such a crushing, intense album of just darkness and evil. And what I was unwrapping there was Special Treasures. It's a golden butter toffee. It's like Withers Originals, basically. I'm sure you've had that. What I've also got here is just a soft caramel. So we'll be having some of that. So, The Satanist, if you want to get an idea of what it sounds like, just listen to any of the tracks on them. They're all very representative of what Nergal and the rest of the band create on this album. It sounds like the soundtrack to hell. It's really something. We also have Melana Kesmata by Triptychon. If you're familiar with a band called, oh man, what were they? I can't remember. Oh man. Hold on. What were they? They did Monotheist. It's a Megatheron. What was it? Well, I need to go get my phone. I need to look this up. This is gonna bother me. Problem is, I don't know where my phone is. Oh man. What was it? Well, whatever it was, I remember it. Tom Fisher of that band, or a new band called Triptychon. And wow. Triptychon uses doom and drone very effectively to create an album that just feels dark and oppressive, gloomy, and yet angry, but at other times still yet managing to capture the forlorn feeling that Tom wanted to portray. Now, it's really an album that I still want to look up. It's still bothering me. I'll look it up on my iPod. it's really an album that, you know, asks a lot of you. You got to be willing to put yourself into this album, to experience it. Just like The Satanist asks a lot of you. You know, you got to be willing to put yourself in it. You got to be willing to just surrender yourself to it for the hour or so that you'll be listening to it, because it's a heavy, crushing, oppressive, but yet progressive piece. As again, the heaviness and darkness of it, with the doom. It's very doomy thing. Melodic Hesmata is way more doomy than The Satanist. The Satanist is aggressive. The Satanist is angry. The Satanist is just dark. But Melodic Hesmata is dark in a more depressing, doomy way. The Satanist is dark in a very violent way, you know what I mean? Another very good album that came out is Extance by Aenon. Just like Hail Spirit Noir we mentioned earlier with the with Oi Magoy. Oh, Celtic Frost was the band's name. So if you're familiar with Celtic Frost, and you've probably been yelling at me this whole time, that's what it was. That's where Tom Fisher's from. So if you like Celtic Frost to Megatheron or Monotheist, go check this out. Because it was a good album. But yes, Extance by Aenon, just a lot like Hail Spirit Noir, but more focused on the metal aspect of the music. You know, they still have the psychedelic elements, but whereas Hail Spirit Noir wanted to really encompass and embody the psychedelia, Aenon wanted to use it as sort of an element to enhance what was already there. Not to say that Hail Spirit Noir didn't know what they were doing and used psychedelia as a fallback of sorts. They just wanted it more prominent. But Aenon wants the music more prominent with just touches of psychedelia. Either way, it works out very well. Another good album was Shadows of the Dying Sun by Insomnium. Melodic death metal. You know, it's to me it was just an okay album, to be honest. A lot of people are really loving it, but I don't know, I couldn't get into it. To me it felt a little too repetitive. Maybe that's the fault of death metal, you know. I could never fully get into bands like Cannibal Corpse, despite the fact that Skeletal Domain was a good album. I could just never get into it. I need progression. I need something different, you know? Like Demon by Gazpacho. That was something different. Let's see what else has been good this year that's worth mentioning. There's probably a lot of stuff that I'm just totally missing right now that was good. Like Titan by Septic Flesh. Wonderful album. Septic Flesh started off as a just straight death metal band, but evolved 2 albums ago when they released Communion into an orchestral death metal band. Oh, I got here some Banana Laffy Taffy, Wonka product, of course. It's a hell of a time to get undone, but you know, that's what you gotta do. Very good. So, when they released Communion, they recorded with an orchestra, but still played their death metal. Ended up creating a very interesting fusion of sounds. If you'd like to hear what that sounds like, go listen to their song Anubis. It's wonderful. It was from Communion, and since then they released A Great Mass, and then this year they released Titan. It just continues on that trend of Beauty and the Beast, orchestra and death metal, fighting back and forth and coming together. Wonderful combination. Really something good. The new Epica album was good. I'm not really as much a fan of symphonic metal, but it was good. What else? Two new albums recently. have been really doing me in, blowing me away. We'll revisit all of these at the end of the year when we do our top metal albums. But I just wanted to discuss them with you now since we're here for lunch. And yeah, all your candies, you know, I gave you one of everything I've got too. So enjoy the diabetes. Right here, what we're going to get into is Breaks, B-R-A-C-H, Milkmaid Royals, vanilla. It's kind of like a, think of like the Tootsie Roll kind of thing, if it had a vanilla, what's the word I'm looking for? Filling. It's meant to sort of have a milky flavor, I guess. I don't know. It's good though. But two albums that have been really hitting me hard recently. Vector Scam by Moog Symphony. I can't even really describe that album because it's a wonderful combination of metal, progressive, avant-garde, like tribal, folk, psychedelic, cyber, and non sequitur musicianship. It's just something that you're not used to. His other two albums, Abolishing the Obsolete System and The Quantum Hack Code, were very good as well. You know, they all tell the story, and so does Vector Scan. It's a sci-fi type story involving machines and AI and everything else, you know, stuff we've heard before. But the music that pairs with it stands on its own as being truly just breaking through the boundaries of experimentalism and into just something that is a creation that when you hear it, you wonder where all this came from and how it exists. It's about an hour long, this album, but it's a hell of a time. It's a massive psychedelic head trip. Just because the changing and shifting of the music, I can't really describe it. Sorry. But you need to check it out if you like experimental music. And, yeah, the other thing I would like to recommend, just listened to it last night, is a band called Neobliviscaris. And they gain their inspiration. If you look at their logo, the O looks a lot like Opeth's O. And the new Opeth album is also quite good, but just not memorable enough for me. But they are Australian. And they play, you know, some really, really good black metal-ish. Not typical black metal, though. Black metal and the super aggression of the vocals, but what makes them different is that they're progressive. They use their lead singer, I think, he is an extremely talented violinist. And he makes the music absolutely shine with his abilities. The brutality and heaviness of the band is amazing. Their writing is fantastic. Their vocal delivery is second to none. But what makes them shine, and this new album I just listened to yesterday by them, Neobliviscaris, their album was called Citadel. They released it for streaming through their Facebook. You need to hear it. It's fantastic. Just like I said how Septic Flesh played a Beauty and the Beast game, this does it even more clearly. They're just, when they're playing their metal, it's heavy, aggressive, relentless, violent, beating down on you. But yet, sometimes they'll switch to just a violin section. Sometimes the violin will come in and duel with a guitar solo or something. The beast, the behemoth, the monster of this metal, playing back and forth a power play struggle with the violin holding its own against this crushing force. It's a thing you need to hear. So if you like metal, just check this out. The violin I know it doesn't sound like it would add much, but it completely changes the game up because the violin is like something that fights with the metal at times in a beautiful swirling conflict of storms, but yeah, at other times they work together. But either way, when I say fight, it's not a conflict as it doesn't sound good. They go back and forth in a choreographed duel. It's really hard to describe, but listen to it. It's amazing. You know, that's there's a lot of other good albums that came out this year, but that's about all I can think of off the top of my head. But listen, I do have to get going. Got some errands to run. I see you still got some of your candy there, and you look kind of hungry still, so there's still plenty of food. If you want to help yourself to some snacks or something in the fridge, go on ahead. But listen, hey, I enjoyed having the opportunity to talk and hang out and just shoot the shit and talk about whatever, get something to eat. Thanks for coming over, man. I had a really good time. We should definitely do this again in the future, soonly. Just talk more about stuff and whatever. So, thanks for coming over. Have a good day, and I'll see you around. Take care.